And now, let's go for the last one. Keep going. Damn that Sovyonok. There is no camp, no pioneers. And it really doesn't matter why I arrived here. My priority is to get out, quickly. I'll go forward. I shrugged my shoulders, trying to express a minimum of interest. Julia stared hard at me for some time, but then took a couple of steps forward, as if inviting me to follow her. Well, are you going? It seemed like for the first time today we got a bit closer to the city, like 100 meters or so. I was almost sure that I wouldn't reach it. Then I heard sounds of a car horn from behind. A bus, an Icarus, approached us fast, cutting through the night darkness with its lights. Oh yeah, of course, because we are leaving Sovyonok before 7 days has passed. I stepped to the roadside. Julia wasn't around. How does she manage to appear and disappear so unnoticeably? The bus slowly stopped next to me. The door opened and... Olga Dmitrievna stepped out? What? Semyon, why didn't you come back? I asked you to. I could ask you the same thing. You said a disaster had happened and now you... Okay. She suddenly softened. Get on the bus. What? And what about the city? That's why we're going there, to see for ourselves. I hesitated. On one hand, it would be faster to go by bus. This road should lead to the city. On the other hand, the actions of the camp leaders seem strange. We're going in the same direction for the time being anyway. Okay. I agreed and got into the bus. Yeah, so, here's the thing. This exact image is the one we saw with all the blacked out pioneers. It's that same image, but everyone was black back then, which is unfortunate. The Icarus, since they were supposed to be me. The Icarus went in the direction in the mysterious city, bouncing over the bumps. It was too slow in my opinion. I was so tired that my eyes started to close. And what about Julia? Did I just leave her alone there? It looked like all the pioneers who had been in Sovyonok had got onto the bus. Maybe she wanted to say something to me. However, regardless of my struggle with Morpheus, my loud snoring sounded from the back seat within a couple of minutes. It really ends just like that? Everything is over now. Or not. But it's a scary sound. I wanted to get out so badly and not to fall asleep. Is exhaustion the reason? Probably not. It was like I got a dose of sedative. People can't lose consciousness just like that, and I never suffer from narcolepsy. Yes, they can lose consciousness just like that. It's not common, but sure they can. My thoughts flowed fast and calm like a wide river. Nothing interfered with their flight because I was sleeping. But at the same time, it felt like I was conscious. I am about to open my eyes and... An old ship's ceiling was looking down at me. A big crack divided it in 2 parts lengthwise, as if threatening to drop the upper floors on me. The computer fan sounded peaceful but strained. Thousands of specks of dust danced beautifully in the air. The wind wailed outside the window, licking the frost-covered glass and then flying away, twirling the snowflakes in its wake. The bright winter-cold moon looked down at my world, winking merrily. There was a ringing in my head and I felt dizzy. A nasty aftertaste filled my mouth, as if I had eaten the contents of an ashtray and washed them down with a bottle of vodka. The realization didn't come at once. I was intending to go somewhere yesterday and I had a strange dream about summer, a camp, pioneers and their camp leader, about a strange cat girl and a distant city. I always forget the end of my dreams. Did I get to the city or not? Wait a minute. Was that really a dream? I spent nearly a week in that camp. However, the clock didn't agree with me. According to it, only about 12 hours had passed. I sat up on the bed and tried to remember. My feelings and emotions were really vivid, but the events of that dream were covered in fog. I remembered girls, their tears and smiles, remembered joy and sadness was experienced together, but their faces and figures were concealed by shadow. And there was a mine of some sort, a bomb shelter, and then an island and a departure. And those damned grasshoppers which disturbed my sleep. And Slavia, and Lena, and Alyssa, and Uliana, and Masha. So Masha is still real. Okay. And Julia. But there was something else. Something beyond the dream. My life after. Seemingly a new level of existence. Yes, I had woken up many times. Met those girls while being awake in this world. And then everything started all over again. Yeah. Like I said, every single possible path you can take in this game is part of the same dream. He hasn't fallen asleep multiple times. He has fallen asleep once, and then he has dreamed that he has woken up multiple times. But no, it was all part of one massive dream. This huge load of information just couldn't settle in my head. My memory was overflowing. I was forgetting something every second, and I couldn't understand what was real and what was not. All the events of the camp blended into one fantastic picture, a collage made up from hundreds of works by hundreds of artists with different styles. Scraps of feelings, shadows of emotions, parts of memories. My life was ripped apart and clumsily sewn back together, and the result was something like that disfigured doll I had found in the old camp together with Uliana. Wait. Or was it Slavia? That night search for Shurik flew before my eyes with all its details, but I couldn't remember the face of the girl who was with me at that time. The dream was getting more foggy with every moment. Would it be forgotten soon? I can't let that happen. I must remember. Even without details, even without faces, maybe even without names. I'm sure it's not just a dream. It's something bigger, something very important to me. A voice started to ring in my head, and it was not mine. It was someone else's. It was quiet and distant at first, but it was growing louder with every moment, and soon I almost could make out the words. But it was probably just my imagination. One electrical brain impulse contained more thoughts than 1,000 books. I remembered something in that dream I had left unfinished. The city? No, I had reached the city. Julia. From the depths of my consciousness, as the image of the cat girl arose. She stared at me furiously and moved her ears in a funny way. Was it not a dream? Was the week I had spent in the camp not a dream? I walked around the room and looked out the window. The outside world was the same as yesterday. I was on the verge of going insane. The silence of my flat was disturbed by the ringing of the doorbell. Who might that be at such an hour? I didn't want to open the door at first. I was afraid, but then thought that it was a good opportunity to check. Was this a dream? People in the dream and in the reality are totally different. I'll open the door and see. I made it to the entrance in 2 leaps, pulled on the door handle without even looking in the peephole, and... no longer a scary scene, but in fact, a nice one. The girl stood in front of the door, and it's all of them. Yeah, we got... Slavia, Uliana, Alyssa, Masha, Lena. They all look very similar though. Very similar hairstyles. That's unfortunate. The girls stood in front of the door. The girls from the camp. But something had changed about them. I didn't remember every detail on their appearance in the dream. However, Slavia's hairdo and Uliana seemed taller. A heavy silence hung in the air for a moment. I was petrified, my thoughts frozen, feeling no fear or any other emotion. The girl seemed not to be surprised at all. "Hi," Slavia said happily. "Why are you standing around like a dummy?" exclaimed Uliana. How do you know? I got words onto my tongue, but I couldn't form a sensible question out of them. I had so many things to ask at once. Calm down, girls. You shouldn't shock a person like this. I remembered Lena at once. I remembered our life after the camp. And Slavia, the conversation at the night bus stop. And Uliana, our encounter at the university. And Alyssa at my concert. And even Masha in the other world. But how? Well, yes, to cut a long story short, Alyssa started to speak casually. Don't be so surprised. Do you think you were the only one? In Sovyanok? Yes, in Sovyanok. You weren't the only one. We were there too. But how do you all together here? The point is that every one of us had their own camp and you had yours. I mean, in ours you behaved differently. Slavia sounded awkward. Really differently. You chased me with that cake. I barely managed to escape. It turned out that we remembered everything before you did and understood that they were not just dreams. But wait, how is it only one day has passed? No, it's gone on much longer. At first I thought so too, that only I had dreams about the camp. But then people from there started to become more real. You started to sigh deeply. And those horrors. Seems like Lena will start crying any second now. Stop it already. I told you 1,000 times it wasn't him. It was another Semyon. What does that mean? Another Semyon. You see, there are many such dreams, many camps. Everyone has a personal one. And in each of them you behave in different ways. Somewhere it is like that. She looked at Lena with sadness and went on. Many of your incarnation told us about the other camps and the other version of us, but we were just dolls there, playing preset roles. I am not some doll. Uliana was outraged. We got tired of that, of course, so we started to look for an exit, and one time I got into Miku's world. Oh, they traveled into each other's worlds instead. That's interesting. Don't call me that. But I remember, the camp was completely different there. We were shooting a movie and... What's the difference? In any case, the dream repeated. Oh shit, is that what that means? Is that... Oh, we went to the mine and we walked into Masha's dream. That's why it was so different. Oh. Interesting. We literally walked into her dream. Not like the others. I don't think so. I don't think we walked into their dreams. Well, then we managed to connect the rest of the worlds into one for all 5 of us, and from there, it was all in the bag. Alyssa smiled, and I recognized that smile. The only thing left was to find you. To find me? Why? I certainly wasn't against it. Everything fell into place at last. Sovyanok, pioneers, the camp leaders, these girls. What about Julia? Who? Julia, the cat girl. Didn't you see her? Yes, someone did mention something about that. How could that... I still felt somewhat guilty about leaving Julia. That's how it is. Each of us had only one world of our own, and you had many of them. Oh. And then we understood that only you were connected with reality. How did you understand that? The pioneers told us. I mean, the you who claimed to have been in that dream for a long time. Some weirdo, probably gone complete bananas. I couldn't get everything that they were saying straight in my mind. Okay, wait. I put all my thoughts together. Then that camp was not a dream. Everything has been going on for a long time. There were many camps which had me and you, but each of you had one and I had many. No, I don't understand. That's about right. Stop sulking, you're so boring. It was a lot of fun. For example, I've never visited a pioneer camp. You probably hadn't either. But who was behind all this? And why? That's why we came, to find it out. But how did you find me? Suddenly I felt a doubt and even fear. Juliana pinched me at once. Ouch! Just in case you thought you were dreaming. It wasn't difficult. Your copies could certainly be talkative if they wanted to. Or if you forced them to. Oh, Lena is a psycho, if she wants to be. Lena added quietly. So, first we met in real life, and then we came to you. Greet your guests! Unbelievable. My life turned upside down in the blink of an eye. Obviously I didn't remember this dream, or dreams as girls said, in full detail, but I felt that the camp was something bigger than that. It brought us together, at first there and now here. Only the question of Julia still remained. But might I know the answer? I could just forget it, just like I forgot many other things. Okay. I hope you tell me everything in detail. Sure. That's what we're here for. Well, come in. Don't stand on the doorstep. Tea, coffee, dance, I added, trying to calm down and come to myself. Lena's eyes glared. Alright. We'll save the dancing for later. And this is the harem ending. Every story has its beginning and its end. Every story has its canvas, synopsis, content, key moments, prologues and epilogues. And there is no book that rereading it would not reveal new details you hadn't noticed before. But every book has a last page, and after turning it over, we put that book on the shelf. Just open a new one tomorrow. And that is it. I did not expect this to be an almost 2-hour long video. Can we stop that? There we go. But yeah, so this is why I wanted to play this game, because of how Once in a Lifetime handled the harem ending. In Once in a Lifetime, we were just simply existing, and at the very end, it really felt like Charybdis couldn't get it to work out, so he just said that everyone accepts that we are in a harem. It's just better that way. But in this game, however, it turns out that everyone was dreaming these dreams. And we have been living these existences together for an extremely long time. And we had many different versions of these dreams, it appears. So it is not impossible for me to believe that we all fell in love with each other. That is why I really love this, the harem ending of this game. However, ending up with a bikini pic is not necessary, but it's fun. But yeah, so that's the thing. When you do a harem ending, you need to find a way to make it make sense. Even if it's just part of the world building, a harem is expected, you know, but you still have to make it make sense, and that is something that Charybdis never did in Once in a Lifetime, in my opinion. In this game, however, that was truly fulfilled. Even if they didn't say anything like, and they lived happily ever after. It is called the harem ending. That is what it's called in the guide, if I remember correctly. And so they lived happily ever after. So yeah. 2-hour video. That is a record for me without passing out. Not passing out, but being exhausted. So yeah. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to help me out, you can do so by clicking the link down in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Goodbye everyone.